It's Ash from Super Videos back for another video for Better Call Saul. This is probably going to be the first and last Better Call Saul video I do. Maybe not the last, maybe I'll do another one once the series is done. But since I'm finally caught up with the series, I decided to do a video on Better Call Saul. In this video, I'm going to be going through how I think the series is going to end. And as part of that, I'm also going to be breaking down, no pun intended, how Breaking Bad is gonna cross over with the story from Better Call Saul in the last few episodes, and how I think the Walt and Jesse cameo is gonna come about. I'm also gonna talk about what I think is gonna happen to Kim, whether she's gonna return or not, and whether she's gonna survive, or whether she's gonna be another casualty from Better Call Saul. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break it all down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, if you enjoyed the video by the end, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So, first thing I want to talk about is actually the Walt and Jesse cameo. Before I even talk about the ending of Better Call Saul, what we know for sure is that Bryan Cranston as Walter White and Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman will make a cameo in the last 3 episodes of Better Call Saul. That's been confirmed by the writers, even though they were very secretive about filming their scenes and stuff based on interviews I've heard. But the writers decided to just let the news out for whatever reason. So we know that they're going to be returning. And based on a recent interview that Bob Odenkirk, who of course plays Jimmy aka Saul, did, we know that they're going to appear multiple times. So not just one scene. It looks like they're going to be in multiple scenes. And I'm going to explain what I think that means in a little bit. But we know that they come back. Now, the very interesting thing about Better Call Saul is that there's really 2 timelines. There is a timeline pre-Breaking Bad, that's the in-color scenes, which we didn't see at all in the last episode 610. And there's also a post-Breaking Bad timeline that is all black and white, which was exclusively the story in the last episode, 610. So the fun thing about Better Call Saul is that Jesse's appearance could be in both of these. Now obviously when it comes to Walt, that's more set in stone because, spoiler alert, he did die at the end of Breaking Bad, so he can't appear in the black and white scenes which are in the post-Breaking Bad timeline. But based on the events of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, we know that Jesse survives the ordeal and he's a free man. So there is a possibility that Jesse will return in some way, shape, or form in the black and white post-Breaking Bad timeline. Now that could either be an extensive scene in an episode or at the very end in a post-credit scene, which I think would be more likely than a full appearance in a full episode. But when it comes to the pre-Breaking Bad timeline, there's a lot of things that they could play around with, and there's more chances of solid scenes with Walt and Jesse in Better Call Saul. Now, before I talk about Walt, I do want to talk a little bit about Jesse. This is my prediction on how Jesse is gonna first enter the story in Better Call Saul. Based on Breaking Bad, we know that Jesse knew Saul. Jesse was the one that introduced Walt to Saul. So what I think we're gonna see is a situation where Jesse is in a little bit of a legal trouble and needs help from his representative, being Saul Goodman. And that's how we're gonna see Jesse in the Better Call Saul timeline, the very first time we see him in that series. Now, there's also another way that the story could go, depending on where they want to go with things. There's a possibility that when we first see Jesse in Better Call Saul, he might not know Saul. And this is how that could go. We know that Kim was very much a big part of trying to help the community. She was very much involved in the pro bono cases. So it is definitely another possibility that Jesse was first a client of Kim and not Saul. And we could see a scenario where he comes in trying to look for Kim, but obviously Kim is no longer an attorney. She has left Albuquerque, which leaves Jesse with no choice but to go with the next in line, the one that Kim would probably have recommended, Saul Goodman. And obviously that's where you could kick off that whole story with Jesse learning about Saul and kind of watching his tapes and stuff like that. So I think that would definitely be a more interesting way to bring Jesse into the Better Call Saul story, which is a little less predictable. Obviously, I just predicted it. If I'm right, that kind of contradicts, but you get what I mean. It's not the very first thing that fans go to. The first thing that fans go to is a situation where Jesse goes to Saul to represent him. Now, when it comes to Walt, we could definitely see an identical scene from Breaking Bad. The exact same scene where Walt goes to Saul for the very first time to ask him for legal help. It was in the episode in Breaking Bad that was actually called Better Call Saul. And the other thing is the next episode of Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 11, will actually be called Breaking Bad, which is extremely awesome. And it definitely goes to prove what I said about possibly seeing the scene with Walt and Saul from Breaking Bad again in Better Call Saul. Now, it's obviously awesome because in Breaking Bad, they had an episode called Better Call Saul, which was Saul's first appearance. And in Better Call Saul, they have an episode called Breaking Bad, which is most likely gonna be Walt's first appearance in Better Call Saul. So I absolutely love how that came together. And it's not something that is crazy, just one of those things that's there in your face, but you don't really see it until it comes and you think about it. Now, obviously, he could appear in more scenes than that. That won't be the only scene that he's in. He might be in a lot of scenes with Jimmy that we didn't necessarily get to see in Breaking Bad. But the point is that what we're probably going to see is a situation where the story from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad are slowly crossing over in a way where we might see some things that we already saw from Breaking Bad or things that we heard about in Breaking Bad when it comes to Walt and Jesse and Saul, but we didn't really get to see it, but we're actually going to see it. They did a very clever thing when it comes to the Nacho and Lalo thing, and also when it comes to the Howard and Lalo thing with them being killed off, where they teased it, or not even teased, but there was Easter eggs about that in Breaking Bad. There was one scene in Breaking Bad earlier on when Jesse and Walt go to Saul for the very first time. They have the ski masks on their face and everything, and they're threatening Saul, and Saul says, "It wasn't me, it was Nacho Varga, it wasn't me." And then he goes on to ask them whether Lalo sent them and stuff like that. Obviously, when we saw that in Breaking Bad, it didn't mean anything to us. We didn't know those characters. But now that we are this far in Better Call Saul, having met those characters and learned a lot about those characters and how essential they are to the story in the Breaking Bad universe, that scene in Breaking Bad has a lot more weight to it now. Similarly, later on, after everything is said and done, when the DEA and Hank himself are basically digging through the lab, the secret lab of Gus Fring, they find bodies. We don't necessarily know who those bodies belong to, and we don't see it, but they are mentioned. Now, who are those bodies? Obviously, they are the bodies of Howard and Lalo himself. So that's another great Easter egg and something that puts a lot of weight into that scene from Breaking Bad, which may as well have been a throwaway scene with nothing much to it. So I don't see it past them doing something similar, but the other way around. Something that makes fans appreciate Breaking Bad if they didn't watch Breaking Bad first. So if you watched Better Call Saul and then went to Breaking Bad I think they might put some things in there where fans are going to appreciate Breaking Bad more afterwards because of seeing how it connects. You know what I mean? I don't know if I explained that well or not. That's pretty much it when it comes to the Walt story. I mean, I don't necessarily think we're going to see anything major with Walt or Jesse for that matter. I think it's just more or less going to be fan service, but something that's probably going to bring Kim into the conversation a little bit again when it comes to Jimmy's story in the pre-Breaking Bad storyline. And obviously, if we see Jesse in the post-Breaking Bad storyline, that'll be something super interesting. With all of that said, what are my predictions about how I think the series is gonna end? What do I think will happen to Jimmy or Saul? And what do I think will happen to Kim? First things first, Kim, I feel, will most likely return. If she doesn't return and she just never appears again, it's underwhelming and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. They could do a lot of things with Jimmy and Kim by bringing Kim back into the picture. Maybe a situation where she comes back and finds Jimmy in the post-Breaking Bad timeline, or the other way around. A situation where Jimmy goes after Kim because he either needs her or he's had enough of the secrecy and everything and he just wants to go back to her and have things return to the way they were. But I definitely think she will return. Now, before she left Jimmy and quit her job as an attorney, I predicted that she's actually going to become what she hated the most. To become a friend of the cartel. To become a lawyer for the cartel. Now, obviously, because she wasn't in Breaking Bad, if they ended up going that direction, it would have been more behind the scenes. Like, she would be pulling the strings and everything, but she wouldn't be out in public defending them or anything like that. Another prediction I had is that she's gonna get killed by the cartel, and it would be her death alongside Howard's death that's gonna push Jimmy into the direction of becoming the Saul that we know from Breaking Bad. But I don't even think that that's the direction that they're gonna go with things. I don't think they're gonna kill her, and I don't think that she's gonna become a friend of the cartel. I think we're never gonna see Kim again in the pre-Breaking Bad timeline. She's done. We will see her in the post-Breaking Bad timeline though, and I do think that it will be Jimmy who goes after her and not the other way around. It might even be a situation where Jesse returns in the post-Breaking Bad timeline, the two of them, Jesse and Jimmy, going after Kim for whatever reason. And then maybe when they find her, she'll be dead, like she died a few months ago or years ago or something. But that might be where they go with things. I don't think that we're gonna see Kim back in the story. They're gonna go after her, but in my opinion, they're not gonna find her. They're probably gonna learn that she either died or they're gonna find out that she's doing something extremely big to help people in her community, and they decide that they don't want to interrupt that. They don't want that ruined by entering and ruining her life again. Now with that, we might still see her doing her thing in a distance, but we're not gonna see an interaction between Jimmy and Kim ever again. I feel like that's where they're gonna go with things, but these are obviously my predictions and speculations, and I could be way off, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But with that said, I'm definitely interested to know your thoughts and opinions about everything we talked about in this video. How do you think Walt and Jesse are gonna appear in Better Call Saul? How will their cameo go? Do you think that the story is gonna end with both Jimmy and Kim, or do you think that Kim is gonna die? Do you think that Jimmy is gonna die at the end of Better Call Saul in the post-Breaking Bad timeline? I don't think he will, but I'm definitely interested to know your thoughts and opinions as well. But share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.